Okay then, I've been sinew backing this little horse bow. And I did 2 takes right at the beginning when I was putting my edges on. It's like, man, I left some stuff out. And then I did another one and it got kind of silly. Let's just say that I didn't sleep well last night, had to wake up at 3:30 to get to work early to do inventory. Kind of bushed. But I'm pleased, selling some stuff already. Sent some stuff out today. And I've got 2 commissioned bows, which, full on Osage, sinew bagged, 5-bend, Cupid shaped bows. Rattlesnake accents, they're going to be wonderful. But let's get back to sinew backing. Simple rig, just like a little dimensional piece of wood with feet nailed to it so it doesn't tip over. Then these blocks can slide back and forth. Another feature of this is I've got kind of a, what would you call it, like a dado or something. The edges go up a little bit so the bow can't slide off. But they're not so high that I can't put sinew on the edges. And if I'm doing this edge, I can just slide it to that side and I've got some room. So it's a very nice deal. I could also put these supports on the very tip, push down on it, tie it with some unwaxed dental floss, sinew back it, wait for it to dry enough so it doesn't go back, and it'll be backed in reflex. So it's a handy little unit. You should build one yourself. If you don't want to like grind like a little thing in there to have these sidewalls, just pop a few little brass nails in there. But yeah, that's it. I was somewhat mystified in my own right about the mixture of hide glue. It's I suppose you could boil it down to, this is the definite ratio of hide glue to water, but you know, some people want different mixtures. Some will want it a little bit heavier, some will work with it hotter. And so basically it's just start thick, and if you feel it's too thick and it gels too fast and you start building up all this stuff on your fingers, maybe just thin it down a little bit. Same way with this. Pardon me, sawdust. You see all of my tendons are in there, and they're mostly still straight because they get really slippery, especially if you don't have a super thick glue mixture in here. And I roll the top down so it's easy to grasp at them. And it's one of those things that takes a little experience to be able to reach in there and grab it without just turning it into a tangle. If 2 or 3 want to come out, pull those 2 or 3 out and then separate them away from there. Don't fight it to get just a single fiber out. And after a while, you may want to do it 2 at a time to speed things up. First note is, I was going to say it's hard to mess up a sinew job. Well, no, I mean, after this long and know so many bows, I know what I'm doing. I knew in the beginning it was a little trickier, but I was successful because I was careful. Sizing the bow, of the utmost importance. Your sinew job, no matter how well you lay it, no matter how well you mixed your glue to the water, not going to work out if you didn't prepare. Everything is preparing. Make sure that your bow is super clean. Make sure your hands are clean when you're sizing it. Don't get any oil or grease on there. It's not as crucial with an oak bow because it absorbs glue like a sponge, but practice good cleanliness. Next up, I took some hide glue mixed with water, so it was a thinner mixture. And in my baggie here, it was gelling. I actually had to have hot water in there. I watered it down from my pot and it was still gelling, so I just literally took some water and just dumped a little bit in it. How much? A dump's worth, you know, whatever. There's glue in the sinew, and it's been soaking, so it's almost like I peeled it from the animal. It's very easy to work with. You pull it out, and sometimes you've got like these little dopey ends. You know, just pull them off and then clean it up a little bit as you go along. The pattern. Some people will do from dead center, laying it out, center line, and then work towards the edges. I strongly suggest, do the edges first while you're still fresh. You can pick through, you pull out a piece of sinew, you know, if it's really nice and really even, use that for the edge. And once you get the edges, it's easy. Once you get those edges down, side to side, end to end, stem to stern, it's a lot easier. You don't need to worry about getting a nice clean edge. I go over the edge a little bit, just a little bit, because it'll shrink a little bit, even if you wrap it, compress it. And I personally don't like looking straight down in the back and seeing any wood. And so I do run it down the edge a little bit with like one fiber. How much you say? 1/16 of an inch, 1/8 of an inch? Just a little bit, a little bit. And you can always correct that. You can always add, because I include 5 tendons for this 48-inch bow, which, by the way, I'm going to use this pattern for the Osage 5-bend bows. It's authentic. It's a beautifully proportioned bow. Yeah, heck yeah, I'm going to use it. I spent a lot of time developing this to look like a real horse bow, and so it will translate to an Osage 5-bend bow. Okay, now on with the show. I've basically had this whole thing covered, and even now that I know that, when you first lay the sinew down, you're going to go, oh my gosh, I need to add some here, and I need to add some little bit. Relax. It's going to look like you took cake frosting and just like slapped it on there. It is not pretty. I mean, with my sensibilities, I'm very liberal as far as pretty bow, but that is not pretty. The magic of sinew. This is why you need to do it. It's like one of those things, that you had as a kid that like you throw it in water and it grows into Godzilla. I'm dating myself, I know. That as this thing dries, even if you don't have like, oh, it's not perfectly flat, once I first do it, the metamorphosis from this frosting-like layer to the finished bow, it warms the cockles of your heart. But anyway, enough talk. I don't need to do anymore, but I can still, kind of clean it up and try to even it up a little bit. It will bird's nest a little bit. But if you have enough glue, but not so much glue that it gets sticky, okay, more than one fiber wants to come out, so I'm not going to wrestle it. I'm just going to go with the flow and just set it on the side of the bag. And I'm not going to put it so it's dead even with another end. Gosh, where do I need to put it? The handle section, because you don't want to lose your reflex, so add a little bit extra to the handle. This will keep that handle in reflex. That's kind of a weird one because it goes down and then one of the fibers is flopping down, so I'm just going to give it a yank. Oh, it was actually 2. Just lay it on the edge of your bag. If you get it bird's nesty, just warm up the water. Make it a little slipperier. This is a fiber that then has short fiber, so you want to make sure that that short fiber, you're not petting the cat in the wrong direction, so to speak. And just kind of lay it down. And it takes a little practice to be able to do this, so you're not taking another end of a previous one and then folding it backwards. If you do that, it's not a fatal mistake. I've got a lot of whatevers here, but there, more than one wants to come out. I didn't fight it, so I didn't mess up my nice, neat sinew in there. This is a wide one. I didn't prepare this super carefully. I keep saying whatever, but it's true. It's like whatever. Now there are those of you say you do not wrap your bows. You don't need to. You don't. You're right. You do you. I do me. We enjoy what we do. The reason I will wrap and compress my bow is so I get a clean painting surface. There's a lot of bow makers out there that disagree with me. You shouldn't paint a bow. Okay. Then don't paint your bow. I will paint my bow. funny. There's been a few that started out, I don't paint my bow, I don't believe in painting bows, that have bought my bows. I don't even know if they're around anymore. I've been selling so long, and some of them weren't in the greatest health. I know that some of the people I sold bows to are no longer with us. Veterans, just all sorts of people. Get off there, fly. I'm going to call you Marty. I honestly don't need to add anymore, but I'm doing this for your benefit. What happens if I don't get completely even? There's slightly more here than over here. What am I going to say? Begins with a W and ends with an It's not going to affect it that greatly, because this is not a power layer. It's a power layer in some ways. 28,000 pounds per square inch of tensile strength, boy. But, you know, it's not kind of the layer that's going to bend it backwards. So, I really, honestly don't need to worry about having a little bit more in one spot than the other. I can correct that in Final Tiller. I'm going to bump this way. Can you see me? Grab another one. Oh, see why I have to keep take after take? I almost missed this. This comes with, if you order like the kit form, 5 tendons. And that's more than enough. You're going to have enough left over for wrapping inside curves. I've got that constriction in the handle, and I've got this little constriction at the tip. If you don't support that, I will support that with gauze, you know, while it dries. Really tight gauze. Not at first, because I don't want, the bow is pointed at you. I don't want to wrap it and have the sinew go that way. So I'm very careful, and I don't wrap it super tight the first time. But tomorrow morning I'll wake up probably at 3 again, go to work at 8. I like having a lot of hours to think about how enjoyable the day will be. I'll probably take my bow, admire it even though it's wrapped with gauze, take the gauze off, and then wrap it super tight, because it will have dried down to the point where it's not going to go to the side, and then I can compress the heck out of it. Squish these fibers down, because when they dry, they'll want to form barrels. You know, they'll want to go round. And you are able to keep those things flat by wrapping. What other questions did I miss? What about a second layer? Okay. I like to do all the layers at once. However, there is a benefit when you're doing multiple layers to wait until it's dry. The bow will start going into reflex layer number 1. Look at that. You've now gained reflex. When you put layer number 2 down, it's going to go further into reflex. And the farther out you go from the neutral plane, I'm talking to the surface, and then you add another surface, most of the tensional work will be done right along that surface. And so you've had sinew, it goes into reflex. Add some more, you've raised that area of tension and put that whole thing, kind of preloaded it, so to speak. Wrapping. Oh yes, I need to wrap the tips. I wait until it's dried down. And it's barely going to shrink even more, because I want the sinew to be as tight as possible. Picture, you got this big old thick, this is big old thick layer, right? You wrap it, and then the layer's going to go like that. What does a wrap do? It'll shrink too. It'll shrink too, but you're going to lose some of that potential shrinkage. How do you get that wrapping, if you're going to put string grooves in it, to really bond to that dried back? So when you're putting the string grooves in it, it doesn't lift up. I'll size it, of course, maybe sand around it to kind of scarf it off and make some powdered hide glue. And after I wrap it, it's the trick, and I've said it before, always do this when you're putting sinew on dried sinew, is wrap it with plastic, just like a garbage bag. Just cut strips and wrap it so it doesn't dry very fast. And that'll remain wet longer because it's not drying as fast. And it'll allow the activation of the glue within that hard dry layer, and it'll bond so much better. And plus you don't need to sand it because that plastic will make it look like you sanded it. It'll really compress it. What else did I miss? It's already drying down. It's brown on the tip. That's my first tip. And on the edge, I believe that's about it. Yeah, that's about it. Well, thank you for watching, and if this is the first time you've watched my videos, go back. I'll have a link in the video to the one that shows my products, my different bow styles that you're able to make or buy, and also the pricing for them. One correction, the dog bones. I've got 2 dog bones. One is for larger bows, one is for smaller bows. The one for larger bows has 4 different diameters in it. That one is $15. The other one with just 2 is $10. It's a little cheaper. But yeah, that is all. Thank you for watching.